But he said to himself that that might well be because the good and well-grassed land was still so far off, and that he might yet look to find men and their dwellings when he had left the mountain wilderness quite behind him. So therewith he fell to going his ways down the mountain, and lost little time therein, whereas he now had his livelihood to look to. CHAPTER 9. Walter happeneth on the first of those three creatures. What with one thing, what with another, as his having to turn out of his way for sheer rocks, or for slopes so steep that he might not try the peril of them, and again for bogs impassable, he was fully 3 days more before he had quite come out of the stony waste, and by that time, though he had never lacked water, his scanty victual was quite done, for all his careful husbandry thereof. But this troubled him little, whereas he looked to find wild fruits here and there, and to shoot some small deer, as hare or coney, and make a shift to cook the same, since he had with him flint and fire steel. Moreover, the further he went, the surer he was that he should soon come across a dwelling so smooth and fair as everything looked before him. And he had scant fear, save that he might happen on men who should enthrall him. But when he was come down past the first green slopes, he was so worn that he said to himself that rest was better than meat, so little as he had slept for the last 3 days. So he laid him down under an ash tree by a stream side, nor asked what was o'clock, but had his fill of sleep, and even when he awoke in the fresh morning was little fain of rising, but lay betwixt sleeping and waking for some 3 hours more. Then he arose, and went further down the next green bent, yet somewhat slowly because of his hunger weakness. And the scent of that fair land came up to him like the odour of one great nosegay. So he came to where the land was level, and there were many trees, as oak and ash and sweet chestnut and wych elm and hornbeam and quicken tree, not growing in a close wood or tangled thicket, but set as though in order on the flowery greensward, even as it might be in a great king's park. So came he to a big bird cherry, whereof many boughs hung low down laden with fruit. His belly rejoiced at the sight, and he caught hold of a bough, and fell to plucking and eating. But whiles he was amidst of this, he heard suddenly, close anigh him, a strange noise of roaring and braying, not very great, but exceeding fierce and terrible, and not like to the voice of any beast that he knew. As has been aforesaid, Walter was no faint heart. But what with the weakness of his travail, and hunger, what with the strangeness of his adventure, and his loneliness, his spirit failed him. He turned round towards the noise, his knees shook, and he trembled, this way and that he looked, and then gave a great cry, and tumbled down in a swoon, for close before him, at his very feet, was the dwarf whose image he had seen before, clad in his yellow coat, and grinning up at him from his hideous hairy countenance. How long he lay there as one dead he knew not. But when he woke again, there was the dwarf sitting on his hams close by him. And when he lifted up his head, the dwarf sent out that fearful harsh voice again. But this time Walter could make out words therein, and knew that the creature spoke, and said: "How now? What art thou? Whence comest? What wantest?" Walter sat up and said: "I am a man. I hight Golden Walter. I come from Langton. I want victual." Said the dwarf, writhing his face grievously, and laughing forsooth: "I know it all. I asked thee to see what wise thou wouldst lie. I was sent forth to look for thee, and I have brought thee loathsome bread with me, such as ye aliens must needs eat. Take it." Therewith he drew a loaf from a satchel which he bore, and thrust it towards Walter, who took it somewhat doubtfully for all his hunger. The dwarf yelled at him: "Art thou dainty, alien? Wouldst thou have flesh? Well, give me thy bow, and an arrow or two, since thou art lazy sick, and I will get thee a coney, or a hare, or a quail maybe. Ah, I forgot, thou art dainty, and wilt not eat flesh as I do, blood and all together, but must needs half burn it in the fire, or mar it with hot water, as they say my lady does, or as the wretch, the thing does. I know that, for I have seen it eating." "Nay," said Walter, "this sufficeth," and he fell to eating the bread, which was sweet between his teeth. Then, when he had eaten a while, for hunger compelled him, he said to the dwarf: "But what meanest thou by the wretch and the thing, and what lady is thy lady?" The creature let out another wordless roar, as of furious anger, and then the words came: "It hath a face white and red, like to thine, and hands white as thine, yea, but whiter, and the like it is underneath its raiment, only whiter still, for I have seen it. Yes, I have seen it. Ah, yes, and yes, and yes." And therewith his words ran into gibber and yelling, and he rolled about and smote at the grass. But in a while he grew quiet again and sat still, and then fell to laughing horribly again, and then said: "But thou, fool, wilt think it fair if thou fallest into its hands, and wilt repent it thereafter as I did. Oh, the mocking and gibes of it, and the tears and shrieks of it, and the knife! What? Sayest thou of my lady? What lady? O alien, what other lady is there? And what shall I tell thee of her? It is like that she made me, as she made the Bear men. But she made not the wretch, the thing, and she hateth it sorely, as I do, and some day to come." Thereat he brake off, and fell to wordless yelling a long while, and thereafter spake all panting: "Now I have told thee overmuch, and oh, if my lady come to hear thereof! Now I will go." And therewith he took out 2 more loaves from his wallet, and tossed them to Walter, and so turned and went his ways, whiles walking upright, as Walter had seen his image on the quay of Langton, whiles bounding and rolling like a ball thrown by a lad, whiles scuttling along on all fours like an evil beast, and ever and anon giving forth that harsh and evil cry. Walter sat a while after he was out of sight, so stricken with horror and loathing, and a fear of he knew not what, that he might not move. Then he plucked up a heart, and looked to his weapons, and put the other loaves into his scrip. Then he arose and went his ways wondering, yea, and dreading what kind of creature he should next fall in with. For soothly it seemed to him that it would be worse than death if they were all such as this one, and that if it were so, he must needs slay and be slain. End of Section 3.